What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and today I'm going to try something that I've actually been meaning to do for quite a long time, and it's coaching low elo games. So I'm going to be doing an analysis of a game that took place in Silver 3, and this is me spectating my good friend Disciple. You can check him out on his YouTube channel, I'll have a link in the description. He's a really nice guy and he does like some songs and commentaries and a lot of fun stuff, so definitely check him out. It's my first time trying out a series like this, so if you could leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and definitely leave a dislike or comment if you didn't enjoy the video or you think there's something I can improve on. It's once again my first time doing this kind of thing. I'm just trying it out and we'll see how it goes. Anyways, we're going to be spectating a Silver 3 Caitlyn AD carry game, and we'll be jumping around a little bit to most of the major important plays that took place. Anyways, let's get started. Starting off with the first play, we have a fight down in the bot lane. Now, it's Caitlyn versus Graves, and Caitlyn, on paper, does well in lane against Graves. But the thing is, you have to consider how to play the matchup, and so this is a bad example of how to play the matchup, essentially, because as Caitlyn, you really want to just poke. You want to poke the Graves out, you want to poke the support, and just get a really big health advantage. But when you're trying to all in like this, Graves' burst damage is much higher than yours. And so you really have to consider the matchup that you're playing, and then play accordingly. Because even though you have a good matchup on paper, that doesn't actually mean anything unless you play it correctly, especially when it comes to solo queue. And so you have to take advantage of and play the matchup accordingly to the best of your champion's potential. Jumping right into our next clip, we have something that I believe displays the importance of positioning during the laning phase. So Jarvan is coming in for a gank, and Rek'Sai will come in for a counter gank, and I want you to watch the way Caitlyn is positioning here, because he really makes some minor missteps that end up costing his team the fight, in terms of respecting gap closers. So first off, he doesn't respect the Rek'Sai gap closer, and he gets hit by the knockup. Next up, although he's able to finish out Braum, he tunnel visions onto Rek'Sai and doesn't respect the gap closer of Graves. So Graves is able to dash in and just totally take down the Caitlyn, because once again with the matchup, the thing is when Graves can get into range, Caitlyn has a lot of problems because Graves has much higher damage on a base level. And so by not respecting the gap closers of his opponents, he actually ends up costing his team this 3-on-3 fight, and overall it just doesn't turn out that great for his team. And in the next clip, he's pushing down the mid lane here, and Kennen actually goes up to him, and Twisted Fate's coming in, so he makes a pretty nice bait here. Clean kill with his net, great bait, good escape. Overall, a nice kill. And he's going to go into his jungle here. As you can see, his jungle's a little bit unwarded. He sees the Graves on the ward. Graves walked through the ward that was already on the map. You see Braum and Rek'Sai in the bot lane. And so he wards the bush here, and that's a very good ward, a nice ward. He sees 3 people on it, and so he knows that that's a very dangerous area. And he makes a huge mistake here, and that's something that I actually really see a lot. And he tries to poke the Braum with his auto attacks, and there's absolutely no reason for you to ever try to make that aggressive move, because even though you can get some poke onto him, the risk just doesn't outweigh the reward. The risk is insane, and the reward is that you just end up getting like 100 damage on him. And you really have to notice that there's really no scenario that could potentially happen where you end up getting the kill on the Braum. And so because of that, there's no reason to ever poke him down there, because it's just too dangerous. And you already saw 2 people in your jungle on the ward. So it makes absolutely no sense to try to engage with him at all. You need to just back off. And in this next play, his team is taking the dragon while Jarvan is split pushing top lane. And Jarvan's going to keep split pushing top lane, so even if the enemies engage on you, it is a 4v5. You see Kennen on the ward, so you know that it's kind of a 4v4. And he does something here that I think is really poor, and he actually backs away from his team. And as you can see, he got soloed out by the Nidalee on the corner there. And because of that positioning, he ended up dying basically for free, and the rest of the team of the opponents can kind of just clean up, because Kennen finally shows up to the fight. And when you're kind of having those fights in the jungle, you need to stay with your tanks, and you don't want to back off too far away from them, because then you just kind of end up getting picked off. And he was so far away from his team that Nidalee was able to create that pick. Fortunately, however, Jarvan does win the... or he doesn't win the duel, but he gets the inhibitor, and so he does end up getting the inhibitor. So overall, it's not a terrible fight for the team, but it could have turned out a lot better. He didn't really have to die there. And this next fight takes place after a pretty reasonable team fight for his side. So they're able to pick up 3 really nice, pretty much free kills, and so they're going to be pushing down the bot lane here. And they don't have any creeps because the creep wave is way further back, and so they're going to tank the tower, but Kennen actually has a lot of AoE magic damage. And if you look at the mid lane, you see Twisted Fate and Jarvan pushing in, and this is a really big problem here. So Kennen ends up, of course, getting the triple kill, as you can see, and you really, after you pick up a couple of free kills, you need to stay together when you push for your objectives, because 5 players will push so much faster than just 3 and 2 a split push like that. And although they are able to end up getting the inhibitor, which is a nice play, they definitely could have gotten both inhibitors if they had stayed together as 5, because Kennen was able to pick up a couple of kills on the squishy targets since he's bursting pretty heavily. Next up, we have somewhat of a late game team fight, and so the top inhibitor has respawned, and you can see Aatrox is at Baron, but he's going to be split pushing top lane, and so the rest of his team is going to be pushing down mid lane. And the thing is here, Jarvan goes in for a fight, and when you have a team player that is split pushing, you really need to wait for them to at least push up the lane, because that Aatrox right now has absolutely no pressure, and the rest of the team is kind of grouped up, and they're able to pick off some targets. So they get Jarvan, and they get Kennen gets Twisted Fate, and they're able to back out for free because of the base gates. And although Aatrox finally does push down the top lane inhibitor, it would have been much better for them to wait for him to actually get the inhibitor first and then go in for the fight. But Alistar and Caitlyn are able to kill out the Kennen. And the thing here is that you see 3 players of your team dead, and you know that Graves and Braum are respawning, and so going to tank the tower here is a really dangerous move, and it's extremely risky, and as you can see, does not pay off. And after you have some players die, you can't just be doing things like taking towers. It's a huge overextending mistake here, and it's going to end with an ace for his team. And overall, it could have been played out a lot better. They didn't have to die there, and if they had just gotten away, it would have been totally fine, because it would have been a 3 for 3, but they got the top lane inhibitor. So if they had just backed off, it would have been totally fine, but instead they got ace, and it ended up being a really bad fight for them. And in the next fight, as you can see, the mid lane inhibitor has respawned, and the blue team is starting to push down the mid lane. And overall, right now, this is a very late game team fight, so if any team gets a clean ace, it's pretty much game over. And you have to recognize that as the AD carry player, because team fights are so heavily based on you as an individual because you're the AD carry. And he steps too close to the wall, and Graves gets a huge chunk of damage, which allows Kennen to flash in. And it's a really big mistake here, because you have to consider that when you're at this kind of level, you're not really going to get peel from your teammates. And taking that huge chunk of damage from Graves for free really ends up costing his team there. And that was a really big mistake. And that damage that he took pretty much cost his team the team fight here, and ended up in eventually a loss for the team. And overall, that was something that definitely could have prevented by him on an individual level. And so after that team fight, you really can look at it and think, oh, my team didn't peel for me. But in reality, that's not really true. You overextended, you got caught, and in the end, you died for free because of your own personal mistakes. And all in all, I think it's a good thing to look back at the game and say, okay, here are where the mistakes that I made, and this is where I could have done better. And you really need to approach the mindset that everything is your fault, because he did definitely overextend there. And yes, there was something his team could have done to help him, but he shouldn't be concerned with the actions of his team, and rather instead focus on the actions of himself. And at the end of the day, I think with just a little bit better positioning, he probably could have carried this game. He was doing reasonably well and was pretty strong for an AD carry in the late game team fights. And so all in all, that's it for the commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. Definitely leave a like if you enjoyed, and feel free to leave a dislike or a comment if you didn't, and to give me some feedback. And so that's going to be it. My name is Jeremy, and that's it for my video on this low elo analysis. Hey guys, it's me, Jeremy. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to hit that like button so I can tell, and if you're interested, definitely check me out over on all the socials, of which you can see over there. And if you really enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future. And definitely check out some of my other videos as well, up here and over there. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thanks again for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.